Yeah, reminisce.
Uh,
Hey, set the vibe right, going down memory lane. Gee.
Classic. Fine
All
style.
right. It's classics right there, man. Reminisce, Pete Rock, CL Smooth, man. Can never get tired of that song, man. It feels what it is, it feels what it is. So that's what it is, man. The Reminisce show every Tuesday, man, 7 p.m. Mine Bender Supreme, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, big brother. I'm feeling good. Just another day surviving this wild quarantine business and staying
Yeah.
healthy, staying focused, and just taking in hip hop, man. Past, present, and future, man. How about you?
Man, feeling blessed, man. Same way, man. Just like taking it every day, as it is, just vibing out, man. Got a haircut, so I'm feeling fresh.
All
You know
right,
what I
all
mean?
right.
I've been growing my hair since I was like 15, and just like kind of the lowest I've ever had it in a while. So I don't know if y'all can see, man, but it's like looking
Wow,
nice and fresh. We got to,
prop up,
So
prop
yeah,
up.
that's what we're
Sharp,
doing with, man.
looking
Starting off
sharp.
this new year right, man. Getting that Aquarius energy. You feel me?
All right. Do that, do that.
That's
Yeah,
what
for
it is.
real. Definitely got to self care right now, mind, body, and soul for real.
All day, every day, man. All day, every day.
Peace to
Yeah,
everyone
man.
out there that's just doing what they got to do to take care of themselves in this situation. And
True.
all things shall pass. Nothing lasts forever. So good and bad. So we just gotta.
That's it, man. That's it. We just got to taking the lessons, taking the blessings, and just do what we can to move forward, and just make sure that, we just keep, peace, love, unity in our hearts and do what we can. That's really all we can do, man. So
That's
that's
it.
what it is, man. But today, man, it's really, really exciting, man. We got like a special guest, man. Someone who I've
Yo,
been following from the moment I entered Toronto hip hop.
yo,
Artist who was just always around, very charismatic, just like his energy and peace. So it's going to be really cool to reminisce with MC Collision, man, aka Tough Dumplin Productions, man. Like,
yes, yes.
I don't think people understand like the history and just how important like his whole movement is or was to Toronto. It's incredible. You know what I mean? But we also want to give some time and shout out to Quezro, because as we know, and where we're gonna get into it, man. Rest in peace to Quezro. You know what I mean? He was the other half of Nefarious with MC Collision. You know,
Absolutely.
before we get more into Collision, and I actually found this little clip here that kind of like is like a tribute towards Quezro. You know what I mean? So rest in peace, man. He passed away back in 1999. He was only 21,
Yeah.
and just the impact that he has made, on college radio and just some of the freestyles. And I know we're going to get into it, the importance of college radio, what it meant
Absolutely.
for hip hop, and the underground scene and whatnot. So I'm gonna plug this in. I'm plug in this tribute, to Quezro. Let me see if I can get it plugged in real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Did you actually get like meet Quezro? Did you have a chance to connect with him?
I never did meet Quezro, man. It was sadly I never got to hail him up. I think I got to see him perform at the Comfort Zone because I've seen many Nefarious concerts, but I never got to actually say hi to Quezro.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
one of the sad things, but yeah, man. Like, I mean, happily, I did get to make a song with Collision, and we will get into that later. But like Quezro, I definitely heard him freestyle on the radio, and I remember listening to the radio when they announced his passing, and
Mm,
it was very tragic. And at the time, if I remember correctly, he was really kind of the first Canadian rapper to pass away, and
mm,
publicly
mm.
in a certain while the culture was at a certain size, and we were all a certain level of community.
Right,
So
right.
we are all everyone was just really had mad love for Like, I mean, no group, whether it's like NWA losing Eazy-E or like, you know, Tribe Called Quest losing Phife Dawg, like no hip hop group deserves to lose their members. It's such a tragedy. So it was like, damn, man, like Collision was such a good dude, and it was really difficult to see him deal with like a tragedy like this at a time where he was like blowing up, man.
Facts, man.
And he did a song with Phife Dawg, and you know, he did a song with Junior Reed. So yeah, man, like
that's peace, man.
Yeah,
well, we're definitely going to get into it. But I just want to play this quick video real quick. It's a short clip though, but it really kind of, you know, sets the tone, man. So let me get this real quick. Oh, there we go. It's hard, yo.
That's right.
April 23rd, 1999, Rohan Kajra, critically acclaimed hip-hop group, passed away this week. He was 21 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, he
crazy.
Big up. Yes.
Yeah, man. That was peace.
Toronto hip hop legends. Yes. Yo, are we gonna bring the Benjamin in?
we got a special guest, but we're gonna bring him in. We're bringing him in, man. Let's do this. Let's get right into it.
What go on? Dumplin there.
Woo! Man. Oh my God, it's so good.
It's good.
Fountain of youth. Like, holy, this guy looks exactly the same.
I know, right? Everybody was like, "Do you look the same?" But still, there.
Yo, man. Where you calling in from, Collision? Are you still in Brooklyn?
Currently, I'm between Brooklyn and Philadelphia.
Oh, Philly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been back and forth, and you know who's out in Manchow from the Butter Babies?
Yeah,
he's just down the block. Yeah, he's out here too. He's just down the block from me. Yeah. So yeah, so the Toronto connection is still going on, brethren.
It's always been there, man. It's always been there. That's amazing, man. And you've been out there for like a good decade now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, since 2005. I left Toronto in 2005.
Okay.
So I've been out here since, and it was just like, and when I left, I went to Flatbush, so it was just like Eglinton and Croc. I was like,
wow.
So it was like it felt like I was home, you know.
That connection, man. That's incredible, man.
Sure. So let's get into that real quick. I mean, yo, what brought you to leave? I mean, you're from JA. You came here. You made history. Like we all like you've been a star, whether people were paying you or not. We thought you were a star. We know you're a star. But like, so at some point, you just decided yourself to move. Like, it wasn't like enough people were going. More people have left now, but in your era, people weren't going to the States. So what made you do that?
At the point that I went, it was like me and my girl was trying to make a decision on what the next move was. And at that point, I've done a lot of stuff in Toronto. I mean, at that point, I mean, a lot of people don't even know that I was even on Shaw Claire's big tour. When Shaw Claire was signed, I was on that tour. When Baby Blue, I was on that tour. So I got to see Canada from an underground street and he was the biggest at the time. Like, I was on the tour bus, like going from city to city. Back then, no Canadian artist been on a tour bus.
That's facts. That's facts.
And so when I after I got off that tour, I did the radio show a bit on 89.5. And at that point, I did everything. I produced half of the people, featured with half of the cat. So I felt like it was time to grow, So I took the leap and came out. And it was just like, it completely made sense. Just because at that point, every other artist that I know in Toronto, they were like sitting down. If you got a grant to do an album and win the Juno, your next step was to wait for another grant the next year. And I could see everybody in this loop. I'm like, when you get to be the Biggie and the Puffy, you're just going to keep waiting for the next grant. And I was just like, yo, Toronto was kind of on a loop by the time I ran through it, Yo. And so
makes a lot of sense.
So you moved to New York?
Look, I got to do everything, and I felt like it was the next step. And when I got to Flatbush, it continued because the first artist that I ended up mixing was Junior Reed. And so when Junior Reed kept coming to my crib to record, like we'd mix the song and it'd be on Hot 97 the next day. Wow. And so all the local Jamaican heads around me, because we're on Flatbush, they're like, yo, Tough Dumplin studio and all, like he got Junior Reed up in there. So I'll be at the patty shop. They turn on Hot 97 and hear the new Junior Reed dub play. It was like I just started all over again. I was like, yo, nothing changed really.
Wow. Wow.
And so
yo, that's powerful, man. It's powerful. But I'm curious. I kind of want to kind of go back, man, to some of the origins, man, origins, man, because like you said a lot, man. Like you already ran laps around Canada when nobody's really doing that at that time, and you know what I mean. But I want to go back to the beginning, man, because when I first got put on to Nefarious, it was a cassette tape that my brethren got, and I believe it was from like Quezro's funeral. And I don't know if he attended, but I think he got it from like Motion or DTS because he used to like do stuff with those guys at the radio show. And I remember hearing this like 15-minute freestyle, and that was what got me. I was like, "Who is this guy?" You know what I mean? And I just remember the energy of like the Toronto scene at that time, like the impact that y'all made was really evident, and it was kind of like everyone was kind of mourning at that moment. So like, I mean, once you go back to the beginning and talk about like how you connected with Quezro, like stuff you were building on.
All right. So in the beginning, for those who don't know, my dad's Delroy G, the classic reggae DJ. So my dad would he'd be just going around doing all the commercials, like picking up money for commercials around town, down by Eglinton for all the advertising for the Jamaican party shop thing. And so we were heavily trenched in the whole West Indian community of whatever was going on at the time. And so I'll try to get to the story. But essentially what happened was I brought a lot of the Jamaicans that were coming into town. They would talk to my dad and go, "Oh yeah, my son I just come up from Jamaica, you can't help him, Ron, so he must start school soon." And so I was like the Lizzie, like what is
right.
Yeah, like so so when I was in school, I had the radio. We had a radio show, and what I'll do, I'll like switch from patois to English back and forth, so I'd be able to talk in patois and switch back before the teachers understood what I was saying, And so from that became like this style in Quezro. He was older than me, so this time it was in mid-90s days where it's just like, oh you rap? Oh, let me hear you rap kind of thing. And so one day we end up in the music room. He was freestyling and I came in and start rapping. And then another guy heard us and he was just like, "Yo, you guys are dope. You guys should come by the studio."
Just like that.
So Quezro went a few days at the studio. I went a few days at the studio. Sometimes I didn't finish like he has a bunch of songs and they only had one verse. I only had one verse on a lot of the beat. And we realized it was easier to get the songs done if he finished the add verses to mine, I had verses to his.
Peace.
And so we actually became a group because we didn't want to write a second verse.
That's real. That's real.
That's like literally like, yo, Bridget, man, not write no more verses. Like, give me a new beat. And so it's like all these one beats with only one verse on it.
Word.
And so, yeah, so that kind of was like a vibe thing. So, right. But at the same time, I was rapping with a group out of Rexdale. And yeah, it was my boy named Action. And then Action went to Red Life.
Okay, yes, Red Life. Yes.
Yeah, Red Life. So the way I was in like the best position because I was all over the map. I was in Rexdale, Jane and Finch, Shark Farm, connecting with MCs out in Falstaff. And then my boy was part of Fresh Arts, which was Socrates, Cardinal, and that circle. And then I linked up with like Cryptic Souls and all those. And Cryptic Souls was connected to like Monolith, Brass Monk, the Scarborough. So I was kind of situated in a neat spot where I could see everything that was going on. And at the time, me and Don D was building up a name as producers. Yeah. And we used to go to I think it was Gadget Studio at the time.
Okay.
And Gadget
really in it, man.
Yeah, like Gadget. For those who don't know, Gadget's behind all of Drake's biggest mix hits. Right. So we're around Gadget and we're playing beats and stuff. And I think one of the first tracks that we kind of collaborated on, I think, was Socrates and Tara Chase. On like, so we were like known as producers, kind of building a vibe because back then the Fresh Arts, they had this event where like, I think Little X at the time, he was a poet. He did poetry.
Yes.
And so they had these shows and events and Cardinal had a different name at the time. Cool. So that whole little circle, we used to just show up there all the time. And build a vibe and see what was going on. So I knew what was going on downtown, Scarborough, the West End. So I was kind of sitting in a sweet spot. So when we were working on the Nefarious stuff, it was almost just like I was just like, all right, let's come at it different because everybody in Toronto at the time I knew how Jane and Finch was more hard, street. And then I felt like the Scarborough guys were more like in the scientifical kind of thing. And so I was studying everybody's, and I was like, no one has that boom bap KRS One in your face, battle kind of rap style. So I was like, Quezro just had that. Quezro he was dope with the pen, lyricist, right? When he comes with his rhymes and the way he flips it. And for me, I realized I couldn't go that route. I was like, yo, I'm just gonna rap about my cocoa bread and pati and all the freshies that I gotta hold down so they don't get beat up by all these hip hoppers. You know what I'm saying? Because if you listen to like songs like No Course, I go, if you just like came from Jamaica and they calling you a freshie, watch me punch the hip hop boy them out and ask them if they want to test me. That's me going, look, if you just came from Jamaica and they calling you a freshie because of your accent and stuff, don't bother about them, boy. Just go about your business. Even if you got to pick up your shoes at Bargain Harold and Stitches, don't make them make fun of you. And that's how, if you realize my rhyme was more about, holding down the West Indian and Quezro could go all crazy with the metaphor. I felt like we had both grounds covered where I could just be boom in your face and he could like, he had an appeal where it appealed to street, but it wasn't thug rap. It was just, his metaphor was tight, but it's street, and it wasn't super like J. Rue the Jamaja type scientific. Right. And so I thought so when you listen to the style, I was like, okay, I think we got something. And so that's when I went to Lama Quaid, And Lama Quaid, the way Lama Quaid rentals work, for those who don't know, it's a music store, and you could pay for like equipment monthly. So you could buy something and you pay down monthly.
Right.
So I'm like, yo, I want to pay down monthly about $1,000 monthly. And he's like, oh, so what equipment you want to get? And I was like, no, I want to play monthly down on cassettes. So I bought all the cassettes out of Lama Quaid, like $1,000 worth, and just stayed home and record every Nefarious track and just kept handing them out on the street.
Wow.
Yeah, like I went to hustle because I was like, Quedro's badass. I'm like, we got something. And I knew from being around Gadget, everybody said her beats are dope. And that was going up against Socrates at the time. So I'm like, at the time, he was known as the hottest producer. So when people were like, yo, so I was like, yo, we got something. If all those people saying that's dope, we had something to run with. So,
that's
so
gold,
then Motion heard about us making beats. She came by my crib and I played her the demos that I was like handing out. And she goes, oh, you should come by Master Plan show and play your demo. And we're like, we got hype. Like, yeah, we're going to get on the Master Plan show. She says it's an all Canadian show. And then I was like, nah, I don't want to go on the show no more.
Yo.
So this is the Wednesday. She came over about the Wednesday, and Quedro was like, yo, we should go on the show. I'm like, yo, it's all Canadian show. Nobody ain't listening. It's all Canadian, right? So their show's on the Saturday. The Friday comes around, and I go, all right, if you want to be on the show, I'm just going to rap about why I don't want to be on the show. And that became You Can't Handle the Truth, where I go, all you guys wait for video fact, and I just went in. And I was like, if they're all listening, I'm telling you how it is. And so, and so then what they had, Mic Check magazine at the time. And Mic Check magazine called me the next day and they go, yo, we heard you had this song. And they wrote word for word my lyrics in the Mic Check magazine. And that just went, that caused the buzz of a lifetime because no one heard the song, but everybody was talking about the lyrics. And so I'm not sure if it was Gadget Studio or it was at Trebas, but he worked at one of the studios where everybody was always congregate. So we went there and I was in the room. I remember everybody's like, you heard about this group Nefarious? They dissing everybody in Toronto. And I'm sitting there like, oh, word? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, yo, they probably had a Scarborough.
Those Scarborough youths.
I was like, I want to throw it over there because at the time there was no West End guys represented.
Right.
Like the West End, half of those guys are going to CHRY and they didn't know that CHRY only went up to Eglinton. After Eglinton, no one heard of you because the radio station would just chop out.
Yes.
So all them guys, so West End rappers never got heard, but all the Scarborough guys got heard because 88.1 went all the way to like the Jane and Finch area.
Yo.
So people on Jane and Finch were like, yo, my record's busting. And I'm like, yo, your record, after Eglinton, I can't hear shit, yo, I no more.
Yo, that's gold, man. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Before flow. This is so real.
So then the words get printed that everybody's talking about who's these guys dissing. And the only people that know Nefarious at that time was probably, I would say it would be like the Planet Mars. Because we did a few Planet Mars show. And then the Planet Mars, some of the people at Planet Mars going, yo, you guys did that diss track? And I remember going to 88.1 and there was a bunch of MCs trying to get DJ X to play their demo. And DJ X go, no, I'm done. I ain't playing in no more demos. So I start walking out and someone goes, he did that diss track. And DJ X called me back and was just like, yo, let me run this tape. He ran the tape And it was just kept going on. And at this time, I'm like, all right, I got something. I got to get to Mastermind because Mastermind has Energy 108. Yes. And because my dad's a DJ, I'm looking at broadcasting. So I'm like, I want the biggest network to broadcast my crap out of my shit, right? So, yeah. And so I think somehow I got connected with Mastermind and I was like, yo, could you run this? And so I was like, all right, the puzzle's in place. Now everybody's like, all right, these guys could diss everybody, but can they handle the mic? Like, what are you going to do after you diss everybody? That was what everybody's saying. All right, you call everybody out in Toronto. What's your next move? So we're like, all right, true that. So Master Plan is buzzing at this point. They're like, yo, they want to do another Canadian show, like all Canadian. And that they said the phone lines was ringing off the hook when that came in. So they're like, we should have you guys live. Okay. So I brought all my beats on a DAT tape machine. And back then we had the DAT tape. And they were trying to hook up the DAT so we could rap a record out on the radio. That tape wasn't working.
No.
So we're like, just run a beat and we'll just freestyle. And then that freestyle, after that freestyle, no one in Toronto said anything to us. That freestyle solidified that, okay, they're more than just diss battle rappers. If they could freestyle like this, they're in dangerous territory because no one has never, people in Toronto at the time, everybody was about freestyling and battling, but no one had it recorded. And so for us to do it live, it was just like crazy. And at the time, that Mic Check magazine, My Lyrics, got wind of this guy he was between here and Toronto, but he was in New Jersey. So he had a punk rock label out in Jersey, and they were mostly doing punk rock acts. And then he was just like, yo, I'm going to see if I could work with Tough Dumplin Records and put out something of you guys. And we were like, okay. And at this point, we were kind of getting frustrated because we have this buzz and we keep having meeting with labels, and sometimes they weren't showing up. Wow. So I remember Quezro, we were at some fancy restaurant, couldn't afford the food, and we're just like, yo, when is this A&R gonna show up? The A&R doesn't show up. So Quezro's like mad pissed. He's just like, yo, we got the hottest tune. We're doing all this, we're running around, we're doing the shows, we're doing Planet Mars, we're getting all this stuff done. So when we did that freestyle, Quezro was furious. Like he was he was just going in. And then after the freestyle, a month later, he passed away.
Wow.
Like literally, we had the buzz, we had everything unlocked. We got a label in Jersey that's interested in us because no one approached us. Everybody was just like, yo, Factor ain't going to give you a grant. We already had word that we're already blacklisted.
Right.
Like everybody was just like, the way you came at everybody, nobody in Toronto was kind of messing with you guys.
Yeah.
So I knew we couldn't get any deals in Toronto because everybody was just like, oh, you said something about Maestro, Farley Flex is holding down the city. Like, so it was like, everybody was just like, you caused the hype, but now who you gonna mess with? And so if you look at the Tough Dumplin record, it has a New Jersey address. There ain't no Canadian address. It's a New Jersey address.
Word.
So when Quezro passed, I just went in this thing where I drowned everything out and I just kept making beats because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to make of it. You know what I'm saying? So I just drowned and just kept making beats and making beats and making beats to the point that I don't even know why I was making the beats. I was like, I wasn't planning on rapping, really. But I felt like the community kind of reached out and was just like, yo, you guys are dope. Like, it went from, yeah, you guys dissed everybody, and then everybody kind of turned around and kind of gave a handout like, all right, yo, let's try to see if we could get you on something, you know? And so the label was just like, how do you want to do the album? And I was like, I don't really felt like rapping right now. That's why if you listen to the Tough Dumplin album, it only has like 4 vocals, 4 tracks, and the rest are all beats.
Yeah.
Just to show the mindset I was in. I didn't really feel like rapping, so I was like, I gotta release this album. And you gotta keep in mind, me and Queso came a group because we never wanted to write full songs.
By default, man.
So now I gotta write a full song. I'm like, hell no.
Oh man.
So what ended up happening was I was like, all right, let's get the beat. Let's put it out as a Tough Dumplin beat album and put whatever me and Queso had left. Because me and Queso didn't even hit the studio. The first song we did in a studio was, I think, No Course. There was a song called No Course, and that was on the Planet Mars EP. And so
Planet Mars EP, damn. Bro.
Yeah, Planet Mars EP was everybody was on that. There was a bunch of rappers on that. But I think we recorded that at Shaw Claire's manager's studio.
Wow, man.
So and that was like 96. So just to show you how connected we were in like all the different scenes at the time, but because we are more known as producers, you know, we're not necessarily associated with the crew because we didn't produce any major tracks or anybody out that branch. We kind of just kept all the beats in on the Faria side. Because just let me put it this way, like when Socrates had the song with Common, he had a song like Don E was supposed to do the scratch on that song. And that's how interconnected we were with all the things that were going on in Toronto at the time.
Wow.
But because we're so known as producers that when Nefarious came out, everybody was around us talking about who are these guys? Who do you think they are? Like, and we're sitting there and no one knows us. We're just like, yeah, I think they're from Scarborough.
Yo, this is fascinating, man. This is some real fascinating history, man. Like, wow.
And so once that dropped, everything came through. Everybody was like, all right, let's back them. And then I got on the pen and paper and wrote, you know, all the Jamaican stories that I had left out of my head. Like, just if I was, and the thing is, at the time when I was writing, when I decided to go in the studio and write, I wanted to take my mind off things. So I kept adding more to the list. So they were like, why don't you start up Tough Dumplin Records? So I was like, all right, let's put Tough Dumplin Records. One of the first joint, well, the label from New Jersey, they didn't advance me really any money for myself. They advanced it for the studio. Right. So basically, the studio was booked every weekend for me to go in and lay down stuff so I could get the Tough Dumplin projects out. Right. One of the first tracks we were doing was there was a rapper from the Circle, Wylook. Back in the day. Right. The first single was like Relate to Me, and it was Wylook featuring Cardinal.
You produced that?
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. No one's making the connection because we're so steep in the beat thing. Everybody thought we were like, and so that was one of the first things that was supposed to come out Tough Dumplin Records was Cardinal featuring Wylook. Wow. Cardinal was just like, yo, I'm not feeling the mix on this track. But the studio I was at, we're using like 2-inch reels and we're mixing them like rock records. So for you to make a change, you got to book another day and mix the whole track.
Right.
So I just said, I gave Cardinal the kick, snare, drums, and I gave it to Wylook, and I was like, yo, you guys been doing your thing, just take it over. Because I know even if you send it to Gadget's going to murder that. So, but I already know I wasn't going to book another day. Right. So I was like, who's next? Then we were like, Eternia.
Mhm.
So then I
Yes.
started working Eternia's album because I was at this point I'm producing. I had so much beats because when Quezro passed, I had so much beats in the cut.
Right.
It was easy for me to jump in the studio and just grab an artist and go, look, what beats you like, and they could just start recording. So then, we brought in Adversary to Enemy, Eternia, DJ Grouch.
Yep.
DJ Grouch had Forensics. And so I'm like, all right, I think Tough Dumplin is building Tough Dumplin Records gonna have this catalog, right? And my album was kind of done at the time. And so I was just like, oh, I could focus more on like pushing everybody's album because my album was done.
Okay.
9/11 hit.
Okay.
And that caused havoc with the distribution because the punk rock label in New Jersey, they're getting the records pressed in Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
The Nefarious album is pressed in Czechoslovakia. The CD is pressed in California.
Wow.
Right? And so when 9/11 happened, the shipment, when it's crossing the border, they want to charge you way more now because they want to make sure everything is secure. So we couldn't white label all the records that were coming in because we just say it's a something and you could just get the package. Now you got to pay twice as much, 3 times as much to get the packaging. So we bottlenecked all the distro deal and everything that's happening. So I had to go to all the artists and be like, yo, I don't know how to put out your record. 9/11 happened and everything stopped. So I was just like, I gotta wait it out to see what's going on. In the meantime, I jumped on the Mastermind project.
That's what I want to talk about. The Fife Dog moment. Please tell us about that story. So
Mastermind had a mixtape, 49. It was like the setup.
Yeah.
Right.
So on the setup, I'm rapping about Chauclair has a car and I don't have a car. I'm tired of walking in Toronto. Version, you better sign me. You need to sign me because I'm tired of killing cockroach in the kitchen. And so
it's real.
So it's almost like I was telling Virgin, hit me with something. I'm dope. Like, what the hell? And I kind of mentioned it all over the Mastermind thing. Was just like, and everybody was like, yo, that's kind of brilliant that you told him, like, yo, how come you ain't signing me? You signed him. You give him a deal. Give me a deal kind of thing.
Right.
And so I get this call one day and they're like, oh, you're gonna, we picked one of your beats to be on the Mastermind CD. And Fife from Tribe's gonna be on it, right? And I got excited. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be sick. Fife on the Tough Dumplin beat. And so I was going bananas. And they're like, yo, you're on the track too. They want me to, it's a collabo. I'm so hyped that I'm producing with him on it that I completely forgot I had to be a rapper on it. Like. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back.
Did you record it together?
Yeah, we recorded it together.
That's peace.
Yeah, so basically, they told me the studio date, and I'm working on the beat because it Tough Dumplin beats, like, it's not a Tribe Called. It's not a tribe. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to Q-Tip all day. I'm on my dad came home and was like, why you jumping in the couch? That's how hype I was. I was like, because Tribe Called Quest is one of my favorite groups of all time. So I'm going bananas. Like, I don't know who to call. There's nobody to call. It's like, I know a lot of people, but I don't know enough people to, like, at the same time. Yeah. So I was like, all right, let me focus on this beat and try to arrange this beat. And they called me and they told me the breakdown of the track. And they said, it's going to be me, Fife Dog, and the Rascals.
What?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I get to the studio now, and I got my SB 1200. I got my sampler. I got my ASR. My sampler choice is the SB 1200 and the ASR. That's a whole nother story. getting the SB1200 is like a game changer because Pete Rock Premier, that's their production. That's what they used to make their beats. Right. And at the time, no one in Toronto had an SB1200. So I was just like, yo, I'm going to show up with my SB1200. No one got this kind of vibe, you know? But back then, people had it. But I was like, no one knows. Like, I get to rap about it, you know? So I get in the studio, and I'm tracking. It's like Gadget's working on the mix. Peace. So Gadget's there, setting my SP up, and we're trying to get all the channels right. Okay. I think they had Jamaican food delivered that day, too. Like, because I remember going to the studio like, oh, this is dope. They know what I want to eat. I'm like, of course they know. I've been saying it in all the songs for years. Of course they know. So I'm there chilling, getting the beat right, and Fife comes in and introduces himself. I shake his hand. He's like, yo, you tough Dumplin? And he's like, I'm like, yeah, he didn't call. I think he said specifically Tough Dumplin because they played him the record, my record. Mm-hmm. So he had a vibe of how I sound and my style a little bit. Right. So he introduced himself and he's like, yo, is this the beat? I'm like, yeah. So Gadget is running the beat. I'm next to Fife and he has the pen and paper. And typically I don't write my lyrics because I'm always freestyling. And I'm there like, I gotta look like I'm doing something. So I grab a pen and paper like I'm writing shit down. No, well, I gotta freestyle my ass off. Cause I wrote rhymes, but I wasn't sure how they wanted who was gonna go after who and how the lineup was. Uh-huh. And they gave me they said the concept was like a Caribbean vibe. So that's as much as the topic that I had. So they were like, Fife was gonna bring the Trini thing and I was gonna bring the Jamaican thing. Yes. And I wasn't sure Rascals was a part of that whole thing. So I'm pretending I'm writing some lyrics. Fife is next to me, like mumbling his rhymes to how he's gonna drop it. And I hear the door open. I hear Red One's voice. Wow. And so Red One is in the other room. He kind of peeps in. I do the head nod like, hey, what's up? And I'm writing. Ain't writing shit. And I hear this argument taking place inside. Oh. So I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? Like, it's not, you could tell it's not a fight, but the voice is elevating. Right. Like, yo, I'm not doing it. I can't be doing it this way, blah, blah, blah. And I kind of look at Fife. Fife looks at me, and we don't really know what's going on. Wow. And so I kind of poked my head out the studio for a minute, and there were the label and Rascals were going back and forth about something about the track. At this point, they were so deep in the conversation, I didn't feel like I could go in there and I even ask what they were talking about. Right. So I just stayed back. Fife kicked his line a couple of verses for me, and I was like, yeah. He's like, how does that sound? I'm like, you're Fife. You're asking me how it sounds? You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's how he did it. He was like, yo, what you think? Like, Fife was playing back and forth. Like, you think this is dope? What do you think about this verse? What do you think about this? And then he was talking about like Miss You Me and something in the line. Yeah. And he's like, yo, that flows. Like, I'm talking about some Canadian thing. Like, he's kind of double checking to make sure the references make sense in the verse. I'm like, yeah, it's dope. It's gone. The label comes back in and they're like, no. Red One comes in and he gives me a pound, like respect, you know, like go on with the track. I'm like, you're not getting on this? He's like, nah, we out. And so Red One leave. So I guess the argument was Misfit supposed to be on the track? Oh. And Red One, I guess Rascal's been saying if you want Rascals, it's got to be Red One and Misfit. Right. And so that whole thing was going on while I was out there. So it gave this tension. So, and this is like 2 a.m. This is not this is like, because Fife just did a show in Toronto, and so it's late night, so people are tired, you know? And so I get in front of the mic, and I see everybody looking at me through the booth, like, what is he gonna say? And I'm looking at this paper like I really wrote something down. I jotted shit down, but it was like
yo, that's so real. That's real.
And so it was, what ended up happening was when I said the first line and everybody had their hand up in the back, like, whoa, blah, blah, like they're licking up the wall. Like when I said some line like, while you flashing up your lighter, I'm in the corner striking matches. And everybody was like, what? And it's like, people flip. So Fife goes in, Fife says his line, but then Fife kept playing back my verse. And then he's like, I'm going to do what you do, but I'm going to do it Trini style. And if you listen to the last part, Fife just took on my kind of energy and ran with it. Because the first part of his verse, you don't hear that Trini as much. But at the end, he brings out the Trini accent. When he heard the heavy Patois accent, he was like, yo, I'm going to bring that heavy Trini accent. And it was dope. It was dope working with Fife. I mean, that was like one of my highlights, you know? And there was so much stuff going on that night. Like, when I say so much stuff, at the time that I was recording, I called my boy from the label, and he goes, how much you getting paid for the track? And I was like, oh, So I didn't do the business end. I'm in the studio recording with Fife. I'm so happy I'm recording for Fife. I don't know how much they're paying the beat for. I don't know how much they're giving me for lyrics. So there was this whole, oh shit, I gotta get down to business. So my boy had to come over, and he's in the other room going, no, pay him this much. No, he did the beat, you gotta pay. And so I felt like we were back with the Red One scenario in the other room.
Man, the industry.
But it was a crazy night. It was like one of the highlights, you know, of time, you know, just to be able to sit there and record. And I'm able to pull it off with all his drama and freestyle. Because even the stuff that I kind of wrote down, I put it in, and Gadget did his trick. So if you listen to, if you really listen to that record, you could hear that it's cut up, and you hear me laughing on the track. So play it back, and you hear me laughing, and then Gadget just cut in another freestyle underneath the laughing. So he copied and pasted all my freestyling. Was like, I think these, and so yeah, it was like essentially a freestyle with Tribe Called Quest on an album.
I got it right here. You want to hear it?
Yeah, run it. Run the first verse. You're gonna hear the laughing. Yeah. The laughing, and then you hear my verse go underneath. That's a chop.
Okay, here we go. Hold your corner. Featuring Fife Dog of A Tribe Called Quest and Collision of Tough Dumplin.
NY. Trinidad, Jamaica. How we do? You don't know, so we are bringing Germ Chicken, Bully Beef, Mark. So we're back again. I'll start now. Yes, why have to sit there? The camera there. But wait, the man, a master man, you want come test? I just don't know better man, and you make it all effect. The music to play for that way. A matter of fact, you do your second game all down for that way. The man with the step on the far yes the ring. Cause I'm broken on nobody now, give me a damn sense. You getting bent like good girl, what I stood. Coming on the dance hall, I know when the man them want for them touch. Them go out too goody. Them have to stay humble. Cause I'm on Kalija with this on the dirty bongo. So, for that boy, mastermind, kill another song boy, I know, party the sun. When me I drink the white rum, and it's flip them a bun. It's Kalija from the forest, to the barking sun. Walk into the club, that's the mic like a thief. If there's no Aki and banana, what's the name, the bully be with the eyes open. Blast the night to the dead. Here's another suit wet, another song right there. How you mean? Get them all. We not afraid none of dogs that can handle us. Mr. Mike and Nefarious. Teaching the youth and stuff at the same time. Party jumping. Rock up on your teeth trying to fight the top dumpling. And white the T-dot. You have to call the kid up for us like a blow to spit out. Right dog on the barrier. None of y'all can spy with us. Lyrically we're glorious. Remaining victorious. Only you can't see me. You sound well cheesy. My words punch hard like in a stout. Never bitch me. You want me? Come get me. You never disrespect me. Big things when you see me like my hands inside a girl's panty. You don't know me, but check your right you call right. Listen on them seats and bitch you need. Work with first fucking priority. Oh, you know you don't want no parts of me. Underground like Socrates. Bringing flavor to your ear. Down the right like chocolate. Move your ass out of here. You know how I be. When you want music like Master T. Fight the key. In the PLACETOPE. We have that now cause to me. Cause we're coming like Dumplin at the dog.
Listen right here.
Come roof like when you see a dog a bar. You don't know I'm here. I saw my galon. Come down here. Hold on.
You see, I'm freestyling.
So let me push my Johnny Conklin. Some call it deep in eat, some call it deep flip. But when we push it to the knock off slip. From Trinidad to Jamaica, NY to T-Dog. You'd have to call it chaos for a stop to go to spit. Fight dog and the fire. None of y'all can spar with us. Lyrically,
yeah.
Yo, that's some dope mixing there, man. You don't even notice, man. It's like part of the track.
When you hear me laughing,
right,
and they bring it back and just put in another verse, it was like, and I think at that point I was so confident of freestyling that I only needed to just have referent lines because I kind of knew where I was gonna head, and so. So I mean, I took freestyling to the next level. I'm freestyling on radio. I'm freestyling on TV. I mean, yeah, much music. Like I'm literally like,
man, we got so that much music clip, actually.
I could go around just freestyling and just be. I feel like out of any Toronto rapper, I had the most fun because I didn't have to like sit there and contemplate. And if I run out of rap words, I just start saying Aki and Banana, and that was a punchline.
It was always live.
It was like if I said Aki and Banana, I was running out of lyrics, and I just get back to that.
But it worked every time, and I'll tell you straight up, you know what I mean? Like being raised in a Jamaican household, like those references were like gold to me, man. It just gave us that cultural pride, and it's led us and really brought that like Jamaican connection to hip hop as well, which I think you did like so like naturally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So big up to you, and also like this real freestyling, like bringing it back to the art where it's like your freestyles are songs, they are tracks. You know what I mean? Like we're bumping the Much Music video freestyle with Thrust, which I actually want to play just now, and that sound like the way how you two were like feeding off each other. It looks like it was all like planned and choreographed and but in reality, y'all probably like, yo, we're just gonna do our thing. That like to me, like that is hip hop. Like that's what it's all about, being intuitive, taking like the signs, being aware of your environment and flowing with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
But like I just gotta play this real quick, man. For those who don't know, this is real freestyle and unscripted. It looks like it's planned, but it's not. So let's take this in.
Big up Thrust and Grouch.
Yeah, for sure.
And on the wheels of 1, 2, and DJ Grouch right here on the 20.
Ha! Ha!
Hey yo!
Ha!
This is not a top production scene. This is one from Jamaica, from Kingston. Laughing at the house and scene. The track is super rapid. All the way from Germany to the Tina. So that's sweet and big one on DJ Grouch.
Amazing. Yo. Finish up. Watching it down. Just do my thing, baby. At the end of the race. You know what's all crazy? When you out of position, hit this target with precision. I'm splitting for the MC collision.
Yeah, you see what me cut through, you have to say ouch. Like so much music, me I turn up in the couch. You know what I look? Wait, you think my back then? Me look like crook. Wait, I'm the old. Show you gun in the dance hall. Eat action, banana, end up in a crowd.
See? That's when you know I was running out of lyrics. I said,
yo, we in the house, we keep it live across the road. I got the flow. What's up, collision? What you say? We doing it, yo, from on 5 to the 5. What's up, we doing
years. Stop the spot, we rock the spot, we rock the globe, we rock the sphere. It's the cross I want to, with the crowds on the ones and twos collision. What you saying, how we do it's like, yo, it's so amazing. So amazing. What a bro gotta do nowadays. Yo, much vibe. Check it out. Collision. Crowds, turnstiles, thrust. Chosen a few. So amazing. Much vibe. Yo, how we go now? Mr. Frost right here, number one MC. Now we super rapping for the one they see. It's so amazing. Yo, so amazing. Mr. Frost right here, number one MC. Now we super rapping for the one you see. Say what? Yo, it's so amazing. So amazing. Mr. Frost right here, number one MC.
Man, hip hop, yo.
The real
Yeah,
vibe.
for sure.
Two MCs and a DJ, yo, classic. Hey, okay, so we don't got you forever, man, but I wanna that's a beautiful history lesson, and thank you for taking us on that journey, man.
All right, man.
I just gotta ask though, man. We ain't done, brethren, man. It's so good to see you. But so from 2005, you're in Brooklyn and New York and Philly, and like what you been doing since? Like what are you still rocking shows down there? Are you still an engineer? You still producing? Like
I ended up doing mostly all of the above.
Okay.
So I went once I had kind of like the buzz with the studio and recording, mixes just were coming in. People were just hitting me up to get records mixed. So once I started to build this entity. So I started out like Brooklyn 35. And so Brooklyn 35 is a collective out in Brooklyn of a bunch of MCs that they're in different groups. But I was like, I'm just going to form to be a big, like, I don't know, like a transformer when everybody all kind of come together and come like super, like just like a mega MC crew kind of, so to speak. So
okay.
Basically once that I started the Brooklyn 35, I was able to tour just doing shows in and around New York until we took that outside of New York, and we kind of just, so I toured on the Brooklyn 35, which is funny because I did a Brooklyn 35 event in Toronto with another group. And when I performed, this crowd never heard of Nefarious, but I was doing pondering lyrics.
Yes.
And so everybody's like, how you from Brooklyn and you know so much about Toronto? You're talking about like Speaker's Corner and blah, blah, blah. Like, so it was funny to be in Toronto under a different name, rapping Toronto lyrics. And everybody was like, how come Brooklyn knows so much about Toronto? And I thought it was so hilarious to go full circle.
That's amazing.
But then what a lot of the behind the scenes that I was doing in Toronto too was I was producing a lot for TV shows. So like the TV show Traders, I was doing like beats for that, commercials for that.
What?
And so I was always connected with doing stuff for television production, and even my boy that connected me to all of that stuff in Toronto, he moved to LA, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer was his thing. He scored that whole thing. Wow. So he left Toronto and then got in that whole LA scene. Wow. So he was still connecting me with doing production for like TV shows that were coming. And back then, when he was doing the shows in Toronto, he would ask for a beat or something. But when I got to the studio and he realized I could look at the TV screen and freestyle, I could freestyle what was happening in the movie. Like, and so he was just like, yo, this is kind of dope. And so that got me a lot of gigs where I could go in and they're like freestyle this energy. So if there was a robbery scene in the movie, I could go run, get him, and then just freestyle the whole energy of the scene in that kind of world. So, so that freestyle took me on a whole, it gave me so much access to do all these, to get in that whole industry of that whole film world. And so now I sit in the strange place where I direct a lot of films now. I shoot a lot of short films. And I still mix records from time to time. And as rapping, I like featuring. I don't actively, like, if I hear something dope, I'll rap on it.
Yeah,
but I still came in the game with the same attitude I had back then, where I ain't trying to do a full song.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know. You just
so you only get one verses from me. You know what I'm saying? And so it's either one verse or freestyling. And kind of that was kind of like the way I walk through life. So you're gonna hear like the short film that I got coming out. It's basically film put together by Flim. I'm saying all the names wrong because you're going from production to beats to film. I want Flim. Flim. I've seen the name so goddamn wrong. They're gonna kill me on this one. Oh, no. Film Cloud Studios.
Okay.
Film Cloud Studios. They're like just a great collective of writers, camera people, and so we're all together are able to shoot, like tell these different stories and shoot all these films and write these. But we have the whole production team. Right. And so what was interesting, at first it started out 1 or 2 projects, and when we were screening for actors to come through, I mean, people been, coming out to screening and reading for plays for years, and they're like, we've never seen a Black production team.
Yeah.
Wow, right.
And so what ended up happening, we realized, we got the whole entity here. We got everything we need to make films, make movies. We got the dopest camera, we got the equipment, we got sound. And so between starting this whole adventure of making these films, my audio expertise came back into play, and it was like, let's work on the soundtrack.
There we go.
And so we got the film done, and now we're about to drop the soundtrack. You're going to hear me. I got a couple verses on there. I got some bars. Now, when it's a soundtrack, it's dope because you can feature people and I can get my one verses down. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to hear Tough Dumplin on a lot of soundtrack. And so I've been collaborating with just a lot of cool artists out here. And so you're going to see them feature a lot on the soundtrack.
Okay.
And in between that, I got another production that I'm working with, Miss Akar. So you got to check Miss Akar, hashtag Miss Akar, check that out. The collective of art, doing photography, and that's a whole nother entity. So basically being here allowed me to just be in doing art.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? And I could do all the expression of art now.
Right.
When I'm working with a collective of music, like Brooklyn 35 is like the collective of music. Then I have the film section that I'm working with these guys on, and we're building such a big network as far as there's no other competition in the film industry. What we're putting out. We get to put out our own stories the way, and then we got the photography and design end, where that's a whole nother entity. So I feel like that's what the move was about. When I left, it was to be able to wake up every morning and be like, yo, I can either produce a record, rap a record, shoot a film, take a picture, but whatever I do, I can sustain off it.
Amazing. True artist.
And I think
that's success to me right there.
Yeah, that I felt like that really was the goal and the idea, just to build off all these different entities. And so, the film is about to hit the film festival, online film festival. It's called Divide. And basically the film's about a father. It's a Black family, and the father is a cop, and the son want to be part of the Black Lives Matter scene. And so the conflict with the Black family, where, they're trying to promote defund the police, and the dad's like, without me being a cop, you wouldn't have a roof over your head. Yeah, and so we're able to tell these stories from a different perspective. And that's what I like about, working with the whole film team, is that they're able to come up with scripts that no one else would necessarily put out, because the story. I find stories are kind of one point of view, and the fact that we could do it all in-house now, I feel like that's dope.
To me, this is hip hop to me, man. You know what I mean? Like this whole process, everything you're describing, yo.
So now I'm in the phases of getting the single out for the soundtrack. Okay. And so, I'm all over the soundtrack. So you're going to see Tough Dumplin beats.
Speaking of soundtrack, like you sent me Shark Bites. Like, am I allowed to play that, or is this like exclusive?
Yeah. You can run that. This is off the soundtrack. Okay. This is one of the tracks off the soundtrack. Featuring my boy Sean Kelly out of Queens. Actually, I'm featured on the track.
And so you directed this, right? You directed and
I shot it. I shot it with Mr. Carr and Gary Kinney Brew, who flew the drone. He mastered at flying the drone, and I just edited it and make sure you like co-directed, you starred in it, and I starred in it. Yeah.
Okay.
The whole nine.
All right, man. Let's get into this, man. Let's get into this vibe right here. Jeez, production.
Wow.
This generation lost in our translation. Text, Facebook, and fuck up civilization. You're black and discrimination mean you're in a jail or immigration. No matter what you do or what you say, them take you away. Them take the key, lock you away, and then them dash you away. No money for bail, you jail for what you inhale. And if you riding on track, they knock you off the trail. I wanna rock on with them boy. I might be with them, I try to destroy with them snake and the lead boy. This is hip hop with the B-boy. The funk Jamaica with my uncle named Leroy. With the copy, calling all the ball in with the Nazi. New World Order run by the Nazi. Can anybody determine a German from American area? This is a cop, see?
Wow.
Born in 77, I took the Center train way back to Africa with Marcus Garvey. We came to party, we ain't come to harm nobody.
I'm your father, the gun clapper, the gun dada.
Look deep in my eyes and tell me what you see. If I walked away from a fight, you call me pussy. What if I had the Glock to be cocked and loaded, ready to explode? But God gave me the signs to hold on. I listen to elders, I listen to kids. I hear spirits when I sleep is deep. Serving under the rainbow, the hot box is 6 feet deep. Count blood covered sheep in my sleep, the shit is deep. I've been a fiend before I became a team. Wanted to pop a top says, radio ride. From the Queens, you better do the right thing. A lot of back streets with guns, you know what I mean? You ain't saying sure, and I runs with full steam. These 5 bubbles, man, they very interesting. So when the planes land down in LaGuardia and JFK, you're on your way. Hey.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yo. Holy.
Big up Sean Kelly on that one.
Yo, that was a vibe right there, man. Like, oh man, jeez, bars, lyrics, energy, man. Just, and the editing skills too, man. Y'all got to peep that, man. You know what I'm saying? Like editing is not an easy thing. It's a very tedious job. You know what I mean? So shout out to all
but it was like making beats to me. So it came, yeah. So editing was like once I got to understand the color science of how to make the colors look right, make skin tone look right. I was like, oh shoot, this is easy after that, because it was like being on my SP1200, just literally chopping samples, loops, and making it into something. Yeah. So once I got into that, then I had to study lenses, how lenses distort faces, and so I literally went and I rented every lens that I knew was in the industry. And I shot so much stuff. And I just studied the footage for like a month to see what, because I realized some things black skin tones look bad on. Like anytime you film black people.
What do we need to film on for our tones? I've heard this before.
No, like there's a whole science behind it, because a lot of the tone in cameras is set for white people.
Makes sense, right?
So the pigment level of where you're gauging color On black skin, it don't necessarily work. And if you look at like all the shows, the ones that do look good, they're telling you, oh, we had to put this kind of thing on their skin, so the light bounce different. You kind of have to set up light a little bit different when you're dealing with black skin tones. So I got into all the science of it because it was like making beats and figuring out. Like back in the day when I was making beats, the cool thing is I had a like a side collective that I was kind of working with out in Kitchener, and shout out to Know It All. Know It All got some dope beats, and they would just go through records like when they would listen to a record, they wouldn't tell you, oh, Pete Rock sampled this horn. They would say who played the horn that Pete Rock sampled. Right. So they knew, like, they just knew their stuff when it came to records. Like, so having that in my wheelhouse, I realized gave me an advantage up on anybody else in Toronto because I was around hardcore record diggers.
Right.
And when I interned at H&V, and Murray from the Grassroots was my boss.
I remember
so
that.
I knew what Grassroots, their record way of digging, like I had it all mapped out. Cause my boy at Lon McQuaid, if Cardinal went in to buy a sampler, I would know. If he got a sampler fixed, I would know. Like I had the city tap. Like you could not make I know where you got your sample from. I know what record show you shop. Like I was like, no one in Toronto. I was gonna be lethal in Toronto.
Wow.
Yo, that's science.
And so when I came in the video, I went with that same science where I want to know what lens. Like I could watch a movie and go, oh, that's anamorphic lens, that's regular lens. Like I wanted to know the difference. And I took that. I had that same approach when I approached beats in Toronto because literally I would, be traveling out to Buffalo, digging in someone's barnyard just to find these crazy break beats, so I would have the edge over my drums hitting harder than anybody else in Toronto.
Well,
they definitely hit hard,
man.
Because Toronto beats, I never liked Toronto producers. They had good samples, but their drums was always weak.
Yeah.
And they never had that. And so when I figured out how to make my drums hit, it was over. Like literally, if you listen to the album, I have the same drum kit because I was like, no one could out hit this beat. I listen to a ton of beats and I test them at shows, and everybody's like, yo, your beats is hit. Like
it's true.
Even the one that track So Amazing, when I did that beat, I remember Thrust calling me back, yo, I'm gonna send this to Super Rap and this is dope. And when I heard it and it was opening track on Super Rapping, you got to keep in mind Pete Rock is on that. So if my song is first and Pete Rock is like fourth, I'm like, yo, this beat murder Pete Rock.
So we going to set it off with this.
Yeah. I was just like, I was all in it,
Wow.
I mean, I got a flip story, really funny story about that. I was at I went to a friend's party. They had a little get together. And it was just a handful of people, but one of the people that was there was Pete Rock. So it was like maybe 5 people the most. And so it's me, Pete Rock, we're chatting it up, and music is playing. And I'm like, oh, this is a dope sample. And so Pete Rock goes, yeah, it is a dope sample. And he goes to the waiter and go, where this music playing from? Because Pete Rock was trying to look for the sample playing. So I call my boy and I'm like, yo, I just gave Pete Rock a sample, son. Like, you gonna sample a Tough Dumplin style beat, But that's what I liked about New York is the fact that it could be so random that you're casually having dinner with this, like Pete Rock, just chilling,
Right.
And one of the funniest experience that I had coming to New York was, how much time we got?
Hey, man, this is exclusive, man. Like,
all right. So I had this thing, right, where me and a bunch of people were bored one summer, and we said we're gonna go to New York, and we didn't have a plan for New York, right?
I love it.
Like,
Yes.
we just want to be in New York. You know, one of those, yo, New York, like, let's go to New York. So we had a crazy ass time at the border. We made it across the border, went into New York, and then it was like, let's see if we go to a record label. And it was like, oh, we should go to Rockefeller.
What?
So we pull up to Rockefeller, and we need an excuse to get in Rockefeller.
Yeah.
And someone came up with the idea that we should say we're from the Master Plan Show. So we're like, oh, all right, we're from the Master Plan Show, the longest running hip hop show in Toronto. So we go to the front desk and we go, yeah, we're here to pick up records. We want to get the exclusive. We're DJs from Toronto. We just made up this whole thing. So we're sitting there, and then they call back and they're like, send them up. So we're in the elevator going, holy shit, we're going to Rockefeller, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So,
Okay.
So we get up top, and the receptionist at the door was like, yeah, we're going to show you, while you're waiting for the records, we're going to bring you to the waiting area. So on the way to the waiting area, we see Memphis Bleak. And we're like, hey, yo, Memphis, what's up? We from Toronto, we DJs. You know, you want to give us a drop? And Memphis is like, yeah, sure. So Memphis is all hype. He's like, yo, I got these DJs from Toronto. Like, Memphis had this like, oh, Toronto representing kind of thing, right? So Memphis Bleak is like, you know, he's animated. He's kind of loud. So everybody's like, these guys must be important, you know, because they're like, he's all excited to do the drop. We get the drop. And I sit down, we're in the waiting area, and I'm talking to the guy next to me, and I'm like, yeah, we from Toronto. If you ever come through, we'll hook you up, man. Like, just come through, Master Plan Show, we got you, you know? We got you. We're right here. You know, like, we got you. He's like, all right, cool. I like your energy. I like your vibe. And he gives me his card, and it says management. And I was like, oh, cool. Who do you manage? And he's like, Madonna. And he's like, oh, really? Madonna? And he goes, yeah, Madonna is coming to Toronto like next week. You know, she got a show there. Come through. I'll hook you guys up.
Come on, cuz.
Yo, word, no lie. I start to get scared because now I'm thinking, what if Madonna shows up to the Master Plan Show, right? I gotta get on the phone with like DTS Emotion and be like, yo, I was in New York kind of lying that I worked.
Yo, that's amazing. Oh man.
So but get this. I ended up staying in New York, and my boys went back, and he put them on the guest list, VIP at the Madonna concert and everything. My boys called me and they were like, yo, we got free liquor. Like, he hooked it up. Like, whatever we did in Rockefeller impressed them so much. Like, he was just like, I like your vibe. Because we were trying to put people on and show love. Like, yo, you got records? I'll get you on the, you know. And so, but I thought it came so close because I'm like, if Madonna comes to 89.5, that would be interesting. You know what? But yeah, so that Rockefeller story always cracked me up just because it was one of those, you never know who you're talking to, you know? Yeah, and to
me, that's like a lost element of hip hop, man. You know what I mean? Like that finessing, man. Like, you know what I mean? You just make a way somehow.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So true. You got been there?
Yo, Collision, man. I can't thank you enough. I mean, could we do this again later on this year, fam?
We're gonna have to,
whenever, man. I'm around. It's all love.
Because we got each a bunch of records that we wanted to go into. Those records I didn't play. We didn't even get into the Eternia stuff. I saw Eternia last September, and she's got a little baby now with Mr. Lift. So, So there's so much other stories, and you're such a great storyteller, dog.
Incredible, man. You blessed us with some serious gems, exclusive stories, and context for because there's some things that I was around for, but hearing the back end stories, I'm like, yo, this is sick. So big, man.
Look, the 90s, I gotta say I had fun in the 90s. I can't lie, man. I was able to go around and just hang with so many cats, and the vibe was so live because the radio station was like a network, 88.1, 89.5 CHRY. I felt like they were a hub for everybody to really connect in the city, because that's how I really got to know everybody. Sitting around at CHRY waiting for an interview or something, and you end up just, talking, and then you figure out who was doing what.
Right.
And so I realized we just had a community. We had that built-in community that I realized I don't think we realized what we had at the time, how dope of a network. Because I'm talking to cats and they're like, yo, I got 100 views, but they can't get they got like 1 million views, but can't get one show.
Right.
And because they're just the views there's no connectivity. So there's this loss where if you had a song right now and they hit 1 million view, where do you perform? Who do you talk to? Versus in Toronto, the moment we had a buzz, it was like, yo, I heard about you. I got the show going on, blah, blah, blah. And so the connection built really nice, it was easy to get in and out. So that's a big part of that. I felt like Toronto kind of set me up. Whereas it's like this cat's out here, they never been on a radio show. You know what I'm saying? You got to look at it from the point of view. They're in the U.S., you think there's a lot of opportunity, but at the same time, you got to create those opportunity and kind of, Toronto kind of had me create all these opportunities. Coming here was kind of easy to be in that.
You're already in that mindset.
I was in that mindset. So it definitely was.
Well, yo, man, we appreciate you, man. Everything that you've been doing for the culture, man, for hip hop, man, for Jamaica. What I mean? Just keep doing what you're doing. We're always here to support. Definitely going to have you back again because there's more stories, and I really want to get into the impact of college radio, just like you're saying, how their community hub. I think that deserves a segment as well. You know what I mean? So we'll probably set something up.
Yeah, man. A couple months from now, we're just gonna get at you again, brethren.
Yes, man.
For sure. Get at me at any time. You can always find me toughdumpling.com. That's where you know how to find me. And the Film Divide soundtrack, you're gonna start seeing stuff around with that. So big up to everybody at Film Cloud Studio. You done know.
Salute, man.
One last thing, big up Chanel. She good?
Yeah.
Yes.
Big up Chanel. Yeah. Always holding it down.
Yo, man, love to y'all. Y'all are family to us up here, man. There was never nobody close to anything you did, dog. I mean, I don't know. You're of a one of one kind, and we're happy to give you your flowers and respect. And
true indeed, man. True indeed.
Collision and Puerto, man, and even Don D, man. I was like,
big up the whole fam. Big up the whole fam, man. Mad love to all y'all. Thanks for having me. Definitely thanks for having me on the show.
Part one more to come, bro.
All right, man.
All right, man. And that's it, man. So, yo, man, till next week, man. It's a Reminisce show, man. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m., man. We got exclusives, more interviews coming up, man. So that's how we doing it. Yeah, peace out.
Hold on. I just got to big up Kwame, Jason, Sandy, all our guests. Yo, righteous peace to you and your wife right now, man. Big up to all y'all. We just trying to give you the good content while we still in this quarantine. But thank you, Logic, for getting Collision on the show, man. That was
man. It's all family vibes, Like I said, we got some exclusive interviews coming up, man. 2021, man. We're really going to bring them for y'all, man, and bring back, man. This Reminisce vibe, man. And so we don't forget our history. You got to bring it back, man. Got to bring it back. The foundations.
No doubt. I don't know where that flyer is, Kwame, but we gonna find our little history pieces, man. We gotta dig.
Yes.
But we got Ian Kamal coming up in a couple weeks to let y'all know. Spread the word. We got Big Brother. It's gonna be great. And besides that, we out. That's it.
We out, man. Till next time, man. Reminisce.
Reminisce. One love.